Good evening, everyone. My name is Joy Marie Mackenzie Lewis, and I am thrilled to be your host as we count down to the best virtual celebration you will attend all year, the International Center for Journalists Tribute to Journalists 2020. Over the next half hour, we'll get ready for the main event with a really fun lineup of activities. Talented New Yorker cartoonist Liza Donnelly is going to make a drawing especially for us, while she tells us how she came to follow in the footsteps of cartoonists like Herb Block and Gary Trudeau. We'll take a close look at the amazing National Geographic photos that are up for auction tonight. You've got to get one. And you'll learn how to make the International Journalist cocktail from renowned spirits and cocktail expert Derek Brown. He's going to become my best friend, I can tell. You can see on this screen the ingredients you'll need. Hopefully, you followed ICFJ on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram beforehand and stocked up. But let's watch as Derek tells us a little bit more about this drink.
Hello and welcome to the ICFJ Tribute to Journalists 2020 pre-show. My name is Derek Brown and I'm the author of Spirit, Sugar, Water, Bitters, How the Cocktail Conquered the World. And I'm the owner of the Columbia Room in Washington, D.C., which is a cocktail bar, and that's where I'm at right now. And I had the pleasure of creating a cocktail for this event called the International Journalist. And this cocktail is based off an old cocktail called the Journalist from the Savoy cocktail book in the 1930s. And that cocktail is pretty much a dry gin martini that's a little bit bitter and a little bit sour. There's a splash of lemon juice in there, so a little bit of bitters. But my cocktail is a sour, and so it's a little bit more fresh and citrus forward. But it incorporates a lot of the same things. It's made with gin, dried curacao, fresh lemon juice, simple syrup, Angostura bitters, and orange bitters. And all those are shaken up to perfection, and it's a great drink to sip or drink a couple throughout the show. So I'm going to take you through the steps of how to make it. And I just need you right now to get all the ingredients ready, get your shaker ready, make sure you have your fresh citrus, and we'll get started in just a minute. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
All right, so get your ingredients together, and we'll get back to Derek a little bit later in the show. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the deputy editor of entertainment at Insider. I'm sure you've heard of our sister publication, Business Insider, but it's where I oversee celebrity and entertainment coverage in our New York, LA, and UK bureaus. Before that, I was a senior entertainment editor at Essence Magazine, and before that, I worked nearly a decade in network news. Now, you might be wondering why I'm hosting this event for ICFJ. Well, I got my start here. I began my career as an intern at ICFJ way back in 2006. Do not do the math. But thanks to becoming an assistant for ICFJ's president, Joyce Barnathan, and later a communications associate for this amazing nonprofit, I saw firsthand how ICFJ changed the lives of journalists and citizens around the world to ensure that people received accurate, unbiased information that governments often try to suppress. I remember working on a guide to teach journalists how to blog. After editing that guide, it inspired me to create my own blog, essentially launching my career in journalism. So thank you, ICFJ. I believe in ICFJ's mission because I've seen it, and you will too by the end of the show. After our time together ends, I'll turn it over to CNN's Wolf Blitzer, who has been the master of ceremonies for ICFJ's award shows for almost a decade. During the tribute, we are going to hear from 3 inspiring journalists who have won ICFJ's prestigious awards. Fareed Zakaria of CNN and The Washington Post, Lina Atala of Egypt, and Roman Anin of Russia. You probably know Fareed, but you may not know Lina and Roman. I guarantee you will be floored when you see how they are providing rare, independent, investigative reporting in 2 of the world's most repressive countries. And shout out to all of you out there who have gathered online at watch parties to take in the festivities. Everyone from ICFJ board members to participants in our programs from Latin America to the Middle East. They've all gathered here to celebrate tonight. We can't be together in person this year, but it's really fun to attend an event like this with your friends and colleagues online. Now, the advantage of being online is that many of you are able to attend ICFJ's awards show from the very first time, from wherever you may happen to be. So if this is your very first ICFJ awards show, welcome. You are going to have a great time. Whether you're watching solo or with a big group of socially distanced friends, we want to hear from you. Tweet us using the hashtag ICFJ Awards, and we'll post it on the social wall that you see here. Let everyone know where you're partying and why you're watching. I can see, I can't read the name because I'm blind, but it says it's today. It's going to be a great event at 10 p.m. hashtag ICFJ Awards. So thank you for tweeting and watching with us. Also, please do check out our digital program for a message from ICFJ's president, biographies, and our speakers and award winners, and so much more. Now let's get back to the fun. I am a big fan of The New Yorker. I love plunging into it every single week. And I must admit, however, that the first thing I do is, you guessed it, I check out the cartoons. So raise your hand if you do that too. So I know that I'm not alone. Okay, I see you out there digitally. We're really, really lucky that one of the best New Yorker cartoonists, Liza Donnelly, is a huge fan of ICFJ. And she has been live drawing its awards event in Washington for many years. This year, we get to go behind the scenes with Liza and watch how she makes her drawings and why she's so passionate about this work. Please welcome, from her drawing studio in New York, Liza Donnelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liza Donnelly, cartoonist for The New Yorker and other publications. I wanted to tell you a bit about why I'm so passionate about cartoons while I draw you a cartoon. As a high school student in Washington, D.C. during Watergate, I looked up to journalists. However, it was really the cartoonists that I was paying close attention to. I was already drawing cartoons. At that time, the Washington Post's Herb Bloch helped bring Nixon's resignation with his powerful daily cartoons. His depiction of Tricky Dick cut to the essence of what was happening. In the strip Doonesbury, Gary Trudeau regularly skewered politicians and our involvement in the Vietnam War. He made it more personal, drawing attention to our racism and xenophobia. There have been other notable cartoonists who furthered change in our country. Thomas Nast brought down New York City's boss Tweed by visually alerting us to the corruption of Tammany Hall. Lesser-known cartoonists such as Lou Rogers, Rose O'Neill, drew cartoons to further women's suffrage and exposed wrongful stereotypes. Contemporary cartoonists Ann Telnis, Jim Moran, Jeff Danziger, Jen Sorensen, Keith Knight, and many others continually hold our politicians accountable with their pens. The New Yorker magazine, mostly known for its cartoons about culture, has a history of political cartoons. When you see yourself in a cartoon, it may elicit laughter, but it also may elicit reflection. And change often comes from that cultural behavior and from within ourselves. And the New Yorker cartoon is masterful at being a mirror. Editorial cartoonists are essential journalists. We see this clearly around the world. Some cartoonists find they can only speak through images. Sadly, cartoonists get under the skin of those they attack, and then they are threatened, injured, or murdered. Imagery can be swift and succinct at transmitting ideas across borders with hopeful and powerful ideas, often without words. My international colleagues are tenacious, passionate, and incredibly talented at showing us what we really feel. What editorial cartoonists do is crucial. People around the world often do not take the time to read or cannot read an article, but none of us can look away from a cartoon. Through this form of journalism, we can learn about what is happening, and we can better understand what's going on the ground, often from those cartoonists that are living that reality. And we can learn what they really think of us. We must preserve freedom of expression for cartoonists. What we do as journalists is to show our common humanity. We expose wrongs, offer hope, and show us who we are, often while we are laughing.
That was so amazing, Liza. It's so true. I can never turn away from a cartoon. During our tribute event, you'll see Liza's drawings of Wolf, Fareed, and other key people from the award show. And now you can see Liza's drawing of me. I love it. I want that for my home office. I'm definitely going to frame it. Thank you so much, Liza. Now, here's some great news. You too can get a cartoon drawn by Liza of yourself or anyone else you choose. All you have to do is make a bid, following the instructions on your screen. If you win, you'll send Liza a few pictures of yourself or someone you love, and she'll draw a cartoon worthy of being published in the New Yorker. Don't miss this chance. Please put in your bid right now. If you're just joining us, we are counting down the minutes to ICFJ's Tribute to Journalists 2020. Let's take a look at the countdown clock to see how much time. All right, 16 minutes and 21 seconds to go. I'm excited. I know that you guys are too, because for 36 years, ICFJ has played such an important role in helping journalists, more than 150,000 in almost every country. This year, ICFJ's role has been more important than ever, as journalists around the world have struggled to become experts on complicated scientific information while also combating the spreading of falsehoods. And ICFJ has been the leading organization helping them do just that. That would not be possible without sponsors like the ones you can see on your screen right now. We want to thank one sponsor in particular, the Facebook Journalism Project, our partner for this event. Let's watch a brief video to see why Facebook believes in the power of quality journalism.
Public service journalism is important because it puts the person first. And if our reporting doesn't reach an audience, that means that the truth does not get out. And so the faster we can get the truth out to the public, the faster we can get to healing our communities and making sure that you are able to live here forever and live a respectable life of your choosing.
Thank you for that support. Now, let's take a look at a few of the 20 amazing National Geographic photographs that ICFJ has made available for auction tonight. This collection is called Visions and Visionaries, the World Through the Eyes of National Geographic Photographers. These photos capture indelible moments in history, as well as gorgeous and whimsical scenes of nature and man-made wonders. This is one of my favorites, featuring two icons, Nelson Mandela and Michelle Obama, in a photo by White House photographer Samantha Appleton. On their first solo trip to Africa, the First Lady and her two daughters met the anti-apartheid legend when he was 92 years old. She said, according to Politico, "You cannot imagine how important your legacy is to who I am, to who my husband is. I just said, thank you, thank you, thank you." That is so powerful. You've probably seen countless pictures of Mount Rushmore, but I doubt you've ever seen this view. Workers carving the face of Abraham Lincoln in 1937. Photographer Charles D. Emery spent 14 years documenting work on the monument, often dangling off ropes and scaffolding with heavy equipment. National Geographic is renowned for its nature photography, and we have lots of stunning examples of that too. This one is one of my favorites. Two penguin chicks interacting in Antarctica. I do wonder what the right is trying to say. Listen to me or something. Place a bid right now. Photographer David Dubillet is known for his stunning underwater photography. This shot demonstrates the grace of spotted eagle rays in the Northern Mariana Islands. And in an entirely different part of the world, the Galapagos Islands, photographer Enrique Sala captured a sea lion chasing a school of fish from an incredible perspective. Sala became a National Geographic explorer in residence, and he talked to Ecuador's president about the need to protect marine life. After that talk, the president announced a new marine sanctuary in the Galapagos. Whoa, tongue twister. Any of the photos would look stunning as a backdrop for your home office, especially for all the Zoom calls we're on, and it would make it an outstanding gift to someone that you care about. You'll be supporting an organization that advances quality journalism worldwide, and your gift is partially tax deductible. The bidding for photos starts at $500 and increases by increments of $250. You can see instructions on how to bid on the screen. All of the proceeds go to supporting ICFJ's vital work. Please take some time to explore the gallery and choose a photo you love the most. The auction will remain open until 10 p.m. Eastern today. Now, let's take a look at our social wall and see what people are saying about the event. Don't forget, tweet us using the hashtag ICFJ Awards. Let's see. Oh, this is so awesome. It looks like someone says they're so delighted to be joining the Trace group who is participating in ICFJ's Zoom Awards. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for tweeting us. And if you're just joining us, hi, welcome. How are you? You've gotten here just in time for my favorite part of the pre-show. We are going to make a drink with renowned spirits and cocktail expert Derek Brown. He has created a new libation called, what else? The International Journalist, just for our event. You can see that I've gathered my materials here, and don't worry if you haven't gotten everything, it's fine. You can just make one later, but let's watch Derek tell us how it's done.
Welcome back to the ICFJ Tribute to Journalists pre-show. My name is Derek Brown, and I am going to take you through the steps of a cocktail I created called the International Journalist. And I created that cocktail specifically for this event so that you can sip it now, or if you'd like, you can bookmark this and come back to it later and make the drink. What I need you to do is just, if you're going to make it along with me, to get the ingredients together. So you're going to need gin, dry curacao, fresh lemons or lemon juice, simple syrup, orange bitters, and Angostura bitters. Put that together right now in front of you, which we call mise en place when we're making cocktails, and get your shaker ready. If you don't have a shaker like this is called a Boston shaker. It's 2 cups that fit together. If you have a cobbler shaker, which is the 3 tiers, and you've got a little built-in strainer and cap on top, that's fine too. And if you don't even have a shaker, you can take 2 cups and pour one back and forth. That's kind of the old way that they used to do it before some genius invented the shaker. So I'm going to go ahead and take you through the steps right now. You also need a measuring device. This is called a jigger. If you don't have that, just do your best to count it out or to eyeball it. We're going to start with 1.5 ounces of gin. So I'm going to pour that into the jigger. And if you notice, I haven't added any ice yet. So sometimes people add the ice first. You really don't want to add the ice first, because as soon as you do that, the clock starts ticking and that ice starts to kind of dilute and chill the drink. It's sort of like once you put something in the oven, it starts going. So you can't go back and kind of like crack an egg and beat it into it. So once you put the ice, it's over. You've started the drink. So we're going to go ahead and just build it in the cocktail shaker first. I'm going to take a 1/2 ounce of the dry curacao. Then I'm going to squeeze a little lemon juice. So for the lemon juice, you need fresh lemons. So that's kind of key to it. And I'm going to use this juice press, but you could certainly, if you just have a fork and a bowl, you can press the fork into the lemon to break the cells, to kind of get the juice out of it. This is, of course, much easier. And I'm going to get 3/4 of an ounce of lemon. And this half gave me almost 1/2 ounce. So it kind of depends on what lemon you have, what type of year, what time of year, basically, how much juice you're going to get. So this turns out that 1 lemon gets me exactly 3/4 of an ounce. So I'll pour that in there. Next, I'm going to add a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. Now, if you like things on the sweeter side, or the converse of that, you don't like things too tart, you can add up to a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. And simple syrup is just equal parts sugar and water boiled until all of the crystals are dissolved. So it's very easy to make. I'm going to use a 1/4 ounce because I like this one to be really nice and bright and fresh. So I'm pouring all of that into the shaker. Then we're going to do a dash of orange bitters, and really a dash. Don't just dribble it in there. 1 dash right there. And then I'm going to do a dash of aromatic bitters. And bitters are great because they add all this texture and flavor to the drink. So you want to make sure to add those in there. If you didn't have the bitters, this drink would still be delicious. But this adds like a layer to it that I think really makes it a great cocktail. So I've got all the ingredients in there. I'm going to review them for you right now. 1.5 ounces of gin, half ounce of dry curacao, 3/4 ounce of lemon juice, 1/4 ounce of simple syrup, dash of Angostura bitters, dash of orange bitters, and that's your cocktail. So I'm going to grab some ice now and start shaking. You really only have to shake for about 15 minutes. So don't feel like you have to overdo it there. Really, the most dilution that happens in the cocktail is when you add the ice. And then after that, it just kind of incrementally dilutes and chills it and adds a little texture as well. And so now I'm going to pour it into the glass. Looks really wonderful and fresh. And there we have it. That's the International Journalist Cocktail. So I hope you had the time to make it. If not, rewind, go back, try it again. Otherwise, enjoy. Cheers.
Wow, that was fun. You can see that I have followed Derek's instructions and I am ready to give the International Journalist a try. If you made one, let's get ready to have a toast. If you didn't, just grab whatever libations or refreshments you have lying around. To ICFJ and its amazing network of thousands of journalists across the globe, we salute you. We thank you for your tireless work, many of you in very challenging circumstances. Cheers, salud, gambe, sante to you. That really is I made mine a little strong, but so delicious. Thank you, Derek. I'm going to set that aside so I can finish, so I can get you ready for the main show. But have you bid in the photo auction yet? What are you waiting for? Now is the time. Let's take a look at some more photos that you can own while helping ICFJ's mission at the very same time. This photo captures a critical leap in the struggle for civil rights in America, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the 1963 Freedom March on Washington. He's holding the I Have a Dream speech in his hand. That is so dope. Award-winning photojournalist James P. Blair, who was a staff photographer at National Geographic from 1962 to 1994, took this image of King on this historic day. This elegant photo is by Alfred Eisenstadt, who was famous for his photo of a sailor kissing a woman in Times Square at the end of World War II. His shot from 1932 brings to life the intensity of Paris Opera House ballerinas who are listening to the ballet master in a rehearsal of Swan Lake. Finally, here are two iconic shots of the American West. This photo by Keith Lazinski of three riders in the Montana mountains at sunset is just so perfectly composed. And wildlife photographer Charlie Hamilton James captured these spectacular herds on the Winter Range and the National Elk Refuge in Jackson Home, Wyoming. The refuge serves as a habitat for endangered species. We've shown you just some of the photos available that you could own or give as gifts. I'm sure the receiver would be so appreciative. But please do explore the gallery to see all of the photos available. Once again, the instructions are on the screen on how to make a bid. The auction will be open until 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. So be sure to place your bid now because you don't want to miss a minute of this event that's just about to start. Don't forget that you can also bid on having New Yorker cartoonist Liza Donnelly create a custom drawing of you or anyone else that you choose. You can bid on that in the gallery too. I also want to urge you to make a donation to ICFJ. I believe so much in this organization that really nurtured me professionally as a journalist. ICFJ is doing that for tens of thousands around the world. But ICFJ doesn't just help journalists. It also helps citizens and societies as a whole. When a journalist, helped by ICFJ, exposes corruption, governments become more transparent. When a journalist, helped by ICFJ, educates the public about COVID 19 disinformation, people become less susceptible to the disease. When a journalist, helped by ICFJ, learns how to build a sustainable news outlet that reports on Indigenous communities, people who never before had a voice suddenly find officials paying attention to them. If you believe, as I do, that journalists can change the world for the better, please make a donation to ICFJ. You can see how to do that on your screen right now. Every donation, no matter the size, will help ICFJ fulfill its essential mission. Well, I can't believe it, but we've come to the end of our pre-show. It has been such a pleasure to be with you tonight. You definitely do not want to tune out now. We are about to start the main event, ICFJ's Tribute to Journalists 2020. Don't forget, let everyone know where you are and how much fun you're having by tweeting us using the hashtag ICFJ Awards. Let's take a look at the countdown clock and see how many seconds away we are. All right. Oh my gosh, only 46 seconds. That is so exciting. Once again, thank you so much for your time. My name is Joy Marie McKenzie, and I am thrilled to turn the event over to Wolf Blitzer, live from CNN in Washington.
Hello to everyone who's with us tonight. This is very, very exciting. I want to welcome everyone to the International Center for Journalists Tribute to Journalists 2020, coming to you live from CNN, actually from my office here at the Washington Bureau of CNN. Since 2012, it's been my privilege, and it's really been a privilege, to MC this historic, important event honoring the bravery, the tenacity, the integrity of so many outstanding journalists. To start, we'd like to take a moment, though, first to wish President Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump and all those suffering right now from COVID-19 a speedy, speedy recovery. This has been a year unlike any other. ICFJ's work is more important, I must say, than ever. It's helping tens of thousands of journalists better cover the COVID-19 pandemic, and for most of us, the story that is emerging of our lifetimes. And our event will be unlike any other in ICFJ's history as well. We're holding it online, as you can see, for the first time, and that means many, many more people, fortunately, will be able to be with us a lot more than ever before. You'll also be able, by the way, to participate in ways never possible before. You can post to our social wall and be part of the event. Tell us where you are, why you're watching, share your photos and videos, send in questions for our award winners. Just use the hashtag ICFJ Awards, and we'll do the rest. We have quite a show ready for you, just ahead for all of us. We're going to honor 3 truly amazing journalists who will make you believe more than ever in the power of incisive reporting that holds leaders to account, even in brutally repressive countries. If you believe, as I do, in the vital work of ICFJ, I hope you'll make a donation during the show. This is very important. You can see instructions for how to do that on the screen just below. And we're also auctioning off, by the way, a very powerful collection of photos from National Geographic, like this delightful shot of Nelson Mandela and Michelle Obama. Simply text ICFJ to 76278. Let me repeat that. 76278 to see these photos and make a bid. We've made it easy so you can keep watching the show as you keep bidding on photos. I think you'll want to do that. You'll also see drawings throughout the evening by talented New Yorker cartoonist Liza Donnelly. Here's one of me, by the way. Take a look at this one. There I am. You can see, very handsome. You always make me look great, Liza. Tonight, you'll also be able to bid for an opportunity to get a cartoon from Liza of you or the person you choose. Stay tuned for more on that. I think you'll want to do that. For now, though, it's my pleasure, as I do every year, to introduce ICFJ's truly wonderful and talented and excellent president, Joyce Barnathon, to tell you why ICFJ's work has been so important over these many years, but especially right now.
Thank you, Wolf. And thank you for being with us live once again this year. We all know how incredibly busy you are during this historic time, and we are very grateful that you are serving as our MC. Over 36 years, ICFJ has provided more than 150,000 journalists from 180 countries with valuable programs and resources, but we have never had a year like this one. As tragic as this pandemic has been, it would have been much worse if journalists had not fulfilled their vital role of providing audiences with accurate, life-saving news, and doing it while combating the spread of false information. Journalists truly are frontline heroes in this fight, and that's why we're calling our event A Tribute to Journalists 2020. ICFJ has been on the front lines too, the front lines of the effort to help journalists better cover the story of the century. Please watch this video narrated by Dr. Max Gomez, a friend of ICFJ, who is the medical reporter for WCBS TV in New York.
Thank you, Joyce. You know, it is a pleasure to participate in this tribute to journalists. At CBS 2 in New York, I've been reporting virtually full-time on the coronavirus pandemic, although most of the stories I'm filing are from my improvised home studio. The COVID-19 pandemic, which has spread out of control and has claimed more than 750,000 lives, has created a challenging and dangerous new frontier for journalists. When the world knew very little about this rampant killer, the International Center for Journalists stepped up, leading the way for reporters around the world to produce high-quality stories. As soon as the scope of the pandemic became clear, ICFJ launched the Global Health Crisis Reporting Forum to bring desperately needed health expertise and knowledgeable sources to reporters around the world. ICFJ launched webinars, first in English.
Only a level of immunity in the population will keep the spread down to a reasonable level.
Then in Arabic, Portuguese, French, and Spanish. Nearly 8,000 journalists have participated. Thousands more are watching the webinars on YouTube.
This is Darling Clinic on 107.3 Darling FM. You are welcome.
Chidera Rose Kamil Anake hosts a radio show in Nigeria.
Experts say we are already experiencing community transmission.
Through the forum, Anake was able to talk to experts around the world to understand how other countries are combating COVID.
He gave me a global perspective, and my listeners a global perspective of how other countries were handling the COVID-19 pandemic.
In Cuba, where independent sources for news are rare, Elane Diaz and her team at Periodismo de Barrio relied on ICFJ's webinars to access specialized sources and ask questions.
We were able to ask questions and receive answers in real time. That improved our coverage a lot.
Gina Moore also relied on the forum when she wrote an article for The New Yorker showing how African nations are teaching the West how to fight the coronavirus.
There was a special attention to women experts and experts of color, not just the usual scientists that we call from all of the institutions in London, Washington, and New York.
To fill the need for reliable information, ICFJ's International Journalists Network also produced more than 350 tip sheets and reporting guides in multiple languages. The COVID-19 pandemic is the story of a lifetime for many journalists, and during the greatest health threat of this generation, ICFJ is giving journalists the tools they need to deliver stories that can save lives.
And that's not all we're doing. In a major global study with Columbia University's Tao Center for Digital Journalism, we surveyed over 2,000 journalists in 7 languages about the impact of the pandemic on our profession. The findings will guide the leaders and supporters of our field to ensure that journalism thrives in the challenging environment that we face. ICFJ knows that it takes a journalist to change the world. It takes a journalist to expose disinformation and steer people away from phony cures. It takes a journalist to investigate corrupt leaders who are taking advantage of the crisis. It takes a journalist to highlight inequities and bring desperately needed resources to vulnerable communities. And now I'd like to introduce 4 ICFJ board members: Chairman Michael Golden, Event Chair Jason Wright, and Vice Chair Pamela Howard, and key tribute sponsor Ahmed Sharai. We've asked them to tell you why they support ICFJ's mission. This event would not be possible without all their hard work.
Thank you, Joyce, and thank you to the important sponsors of tonight's tribute. You'll see their names scrolling across the screen. Their support is important to us. I've been a supporter of ICFJ for decades because I'm impressed with the real-world effect that ICFJ has. The ICFJ Investigative Reporting Network uncovers cross-border corruption, human rights abuses all over the world. And the situation is getting worse, not better. The work is more important. One example, a Mexican journalist on an ICFJ program discovered that local officials were siphoning off money intended for the benefit of the families of 49 students who were killed in a terrible daycare center fire in Mexico. You'll remember reading that story. When the report was published, the president of Mexico met with the survivors and their families. And in the meeting, he promised them lifetime pensions. Now that is real world impact. That's the effect of the journalists working with ICFJ.
I support ICFJ because this organization is nurturing the journalists that will lead our society into the future. I first became involved with ICFJ in 2007 when I helped secure the funding to launch a groundbreaking global business journalism program at Tsinghua University in Beijing. I got a chance to spend time with many young journalists from China and other developing countries who were gaining the skills necessary to provide citizens with public information that often means the difference between life and death, between personal well-being and poverty and illness, between transparency and secrecy and corruption. 13 years later, that program is thriving. Nearly 450 alumni are helping to transform the most important media outlets in China and other developing countries and enabling more public scrutiny and the accountability that can result from that.
I have supported ICFJ for more than 20 years because no journalism organization can match its reach. IJNet, our International Journalists Network, has become the go-to website for the media, boasting as many as 200,000 unique visitors a month in 8 languages. And that number has skyrocketed during the pandemic. Journalists trust IJNet for the deep background they need to quickly become knowledgeable on complicated medical issues such as COVID-19. From Peru to Pakistan and from Rwanda to Russia, journalists know they can count on ICFJ to help them keep their audiences better informed and safer in a time of global crisis.
I support ICFJ as a media executive from the African continent who believes that only by supporting journalism with integrity can we safeguard our future. Amid massive transformation in the news media, ICFJ has been at the forefront of equipping our colleagues to promote change for better by shining a light on issues that need attention. To provide just one example, 2 Nigerian journalists on an ICFJ program teamed up with medical experts to conduct blood tests on residents of communities affected by constant oil spills. They found that half of them had elevated levels of enzymes that could lead to liver disease. The reporters also used drones to document the environmental wreckage. Because of their investigation, the government hired contractors to bring potable water to the communities. It truly takes a journalist on an ICFJ program to improve lives like this.
Amazing, amazing stories. Thank you to all four of you for what you do. Thank you for ICFJ's board of directors for your support. We've heard from the ICFJ leadership. We want to keep hearing from you, though. Very, very important. So remember to post on our social wall. Share your world with us. Let's take a look at some of what we're getting. Here's one. Greetings to my GBJ program students around the world who are joining these inspiring ICFJ awards, Global Business Journalism. You can see some of the other comments that are coming in right now. We're posting them. Just read them and enjoy. Informing and engaging communities is the ongoing legacy of our next speaker. I'm pleased to introduce the president and CEO of the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, Alberto Ibargüen, one of ICFJ's most steadfast supporters.
Hello, everyone. For more than 30 years, Knight Foundation has consistently supported ICFJ, investing $50 million, including support for the Knight International Journalism Fellowship Program that has had a profound impact on newsrooms and journalists throughout the world. When digital technology began transforming the field, ICFJ recruited Knight Fellows who developed and taught the evolution of a modern newsroom from data journalism to cybersecurity. When the media models began to fail, ICFJ Knight Fellows helped news outlets from Latin America to India to develop strategies to keep their independent journalism alive. And now, with a pandemic raging across the globe, ICFJ Fellows have pivoted again. They're helping journalists on 5 continents to better cover the health crisis, inform their communities, and expose abuses. In Latin America, for example, Knight Fellow Fabiola Torres created the website Salud con Lupa, Health Under a Magnifying Glass, just before the pandemic broke out. And if that isn't timing, I don't know what is. Now she's leading a team of reporting fellows in 10 countries to cover the evolving health story, the pandemic's toll on indigenous healthcare workers, and the way corrupt officials are exploiting the crisis to line their own pockets. Thanks to Fabiola's team and the information they produced, the government of El Salvador has fired a high-level corrupt official. Colombia has revoked a state contract for a funeral business that was breaking environmental regulations. And the city of Buenos Aires has launched an investigation into a $2.4 million purchase of masks that were never delivered. And Fabiola is just one of the many Knight Fellows helping journalists during this crisis, from Brazil to Kenya, from Jordan to India. In addition, Knight Foundation is proud to support the Knight International Journalism Awards. Recipients of the award produce pioneering news reports, often despite tremendous challenge, and they have significant impact in their countries. The 2020 Knight International Journalism Award winner is Lina Atala from Egypt, one of the world's most difficult countries for independent journalism. On her website, Madame Masser, she and her team have shown a commitment to truth, verifiable content relevant to Egyptian life today. Their website has been blocked by government. They have been detained and released again and again, and they have come back to do it again. She wrote about one such abduction this way. In the police truck, my colleagues Rana Mamdou, Mohammed Hamama, and myself were handcuffed to each other. We used the tight physical connection to press on each other's hands, a gesture of, it will be fine, it will be okay. They are, in their own words, prisoners of love of the truth, of their community, of the craft of journalism, as you'll see in this video, narrated by CBS This Morning co-host Anthony Mason.
Greetings to all the friends of ICFJ out there. I've had the honor of narrating ICFJ award winners' videos since 2006, and I'm delighted to tell you now about a fearless editor in a country where independent journalism can lead to jail time. or worse. Lena Atala works on the dangerous front lines of investigative reporting in Egypt, earning a reputation as the muckraker of the Arab world.
Our priorities of focus is basically these issues that the authorities don't want us to talk about in the first place, so issues that are completely blacked out. We have been working pretty much in isolation in this time, and that adds to our sense of responsibility.
In a country that often treats journalism as a crime, Atala chose it as her calling. In her 16 years of reporting, she's covered tumultuous events, including the 2011 revolution, which forced President Hosni Mubarak from power. She was managing editor of the Egypt Independent when it was shut down by the owners in 2013. So she launched her own online newspaper, Mada Masr. It's become a leader in independent journalism and a consistent thorn in the side of the Egyptian government. Mada Masr's reporters have investigated the embezzlement of funds to pay for the Mubarak family's mansions, and a massive agricultural project that helped companies, not people. They work under constant threat of arrest. Atala was most recently detained in May while interviewing the mother of a political prisoner. Released 24 hours later, she was right back at work.
Every time we come out of these incidents, it adds to the fear, but it adds to the determination at the same time.
Authorities have tried to silence her by blocking the Mada Masr website, but Atala continues publishing on alternate sites and social media, risking her life to stand against political censorship.
Even though we're always described as courageous and brave and all that, that doesn't remove the fact that we're fearful a lot of the times, that we feel that what we're doing can land us in very difficult circumstances.
Please welcome Lena Atala, the self-described prisoner of love, speaking to us from Cairo.
I would like to express my gratitude and that of my teams to the International Center for Journalists and for the dedicated team and the tireless work that got us here tonight. So thank you very much. It's the early 2000s and my university campus is filled with feisty students protesting. Today there is the anti-globalization protest. Tomorrow we protest in solidarity with the Palestinian Intifada. The day after, we protest against the war on Iraq. I am here witnessing and producing my first pieces of journalism. It's 2005 and I see yellow balloons flying out of a protest at the Journalist Syndicate in downtown Cairo with the words "Down with Mubarak" written on them. The moment was magical, and the magic was recreated when we printed the story in the daily newspaper I worked for back then. It was like carving out a new reality in the making. I have been in the labor of journalism since 2002 for moments like these, moments when we can carve out new realities in the making, realities that emanate from our ability to desire and to imagine. Today, our ability to desire and to imagine is being systematically fought and challenged. All around us, activists, journalists, artists, professors, and politicians are being kept in jail in an increasingly politically stifled environment. However, we still find a reason to bear witness in these dark times. And as Brecht has told us, in the dark times, there will be singing about the dark times. Perhaps in the singing about the dark times, we can find ruptures, openings, ways to walk, ways out. Perhaps in the singing about the dark times, we can hold space for those awaiting for liberation, from exile, from imprisonment, for new generations to come. We created Mada Masr a few years back with a pressing need to witness a dark moment. And while not being sure of its ability to survive, Mada today has become a space of possibility in a moment of impossibility, thanks to the tireless and brave labor of its evolving and changing team. Today, we are grateful for this recognition. It gives us energy and reassures us that we are being witnessed. that we live in a broader global community that is still committed to the power of journalism, especially in the dark times. Today, we are also grateful for everyone who's reading us, for everyone who's caring and supporting us, for everyone who's inspiring us in our community of family and friends, partners, and broader audience. And today, we ask you to stay with us, as our work only gains meaning when planted in community. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Lena. Congratulations to you. Job well done. We appreciate certainly your determination to keep independent journalism alive in Egypt. And I want to add that just a couple of weeks ago, Lena, by the way, was named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. Alberto will be back in a moment to introduce our next winner. But remember to keep posting your comments, photos on our social wall. Let's see if we can see another one. Here's one. ICFJ awards go to Lena Attallah of Badabasser in Egypt, who is being honored for amazing courage to do real investigative journalism for more than 16 years. You can see a lot of the other comments we're getting right now. ICFJ brings together, as you know, a truly unparalleled network of journalists around the world, many of whom are watching us right now. Let's take a closer look at some of the faces of ICFJ.
Hello, I'm Sharmeen Ubaid Chinoy. My start in journalism came in a library in Karachi, Pakistan, where Knight Fellow Arnold Zeitlin taught me and others how to conduct interviews and do tough investigative pieces and much more. I went on to become a documentary filmmaker, winning 2 Academy Awards for films that show how women and children in Pakistan are routinely victimized in senseless violence. I also won the ICFJ's International Journalism Award in 2017, and I'm proud to be part of ICFJ's global network. It takes a journalist, a world of them, to keep us informed, educated, and prepared. ICFJ is giving journalists the skills to cover the most pressing issues of the day. Almost 8,500 journalists and growing participate in ICFJ's Pandemic Reporting Forum.
Brazil was hit hard by the pandemic. More than ever, information saves lives. And with ICFJ support, I've been able to offer knowledge and tools to more than 1,000 journalists from here and other Portuguese-speaking countries as well to help fight disinformation and keep the audiences healthy.
Investigative journalists on ICFJ's programs are rooting out corruption.
My colleagues and I have been able to expose widespread corruption and human rights abuse in Venezuela despite many obstacles. We do that working in a cross-border investigative network supported by ICFJ.
Digital media pioneers are creating data tools and spreading innovation.
I am mentoring women journalists across Africa in using data to improve their storytelling. This ICFJ data program has brought me full circle. Years ago, in my newsroom in Uganda, an ICFJ Knight Fellow mentored me, inspiring me to become a mentor myself.
Visionary entrepreneurs are bringing coverage to underserved communities that previously had no voice.
My name is Devansh Mehta and I work with CGNet Swara, which ICFJ helped launch. We use technologies like Bluetooth, interactive voice response, and now WhatsApp to bring news to and create citizen journalists amongst the poorest of the poor in Central India.
And hundreds of thousands of journalists now access resources and online training in 8 languages through the International Journalists Network.
Hello, my name is Shekhar Dosri. I founded a platform for women in Saudi Arabia to share their stories and news. With the help of IGNet mentors, I was able to reach and empower more women and make my platform stronger financially.
Individually, these journalists take great risks to speak truth to power. Together, tens of thousands strong, they are changing the world. We are changing the world. All of us in ICFJ's network are grateful to those of you watching for your support. We could not do our work without you.
Wow, that was so nice, Charmina. It was a pleasure also meeting you in Washington at the ICFJ dinner a couple of years ago. Just take a look at that mosaic. Every one of those faces is a journalist you're helping today with your support. And by the way, the bigger picture in that mosaic shows Charmine reporting from a refugee camp. We want to thank one sponsor in particular who is partnering with ICFJ to strengthen the connection between journalists and communities they serve, the Facebook Journalism Project.
Public service journalism is important because it puts the person first. And if our reporting doesn't reach an audience, that means that the truth does not get out. And so the faster we can get the truth out to the public, the faster we can get to healing our communities and making sure that you are able to live here forever and live a respectable life of your choosing.
Great journalism does matter indeed. I'm pleased now to introduce the global head of curation at Facebook, Anne Kornblut. Anne is a member of ICFJ's board, was a journalist for nearly 2 decades, most recently as a senior editor at the Washington Post, where she won a Pulitzer Prize for overseeing coverage of Edward Snowden's NSA revelations.
Thank you. It's my honor to represent the Facebook Journalism Project at this wonderful event and to serve on ICFJ's board. At the Facebook Journalism Project, we work with publishers to do 3 things: help build a sustainable future for quality journalism, train newsrooms globally, and improve journalism on our platforms. For several years, ICFJ has been our partner in helping journalists and media organizations from Brazil to France to Indonesia improve their video storytelling skills and their business acumen. Our lesson from this work is simple. We know ICFJ's ability to help journalists in need all over the world is unmatched. In 2020, we are particularly grateful for their incredible talents. When a global pandemic delivered a brutal economic downturn and an extreme disruption of our partners' news gatherings seemingly all at once, we knew we could rely on ICFJ's vast global network to deliver critical support and training at a moment when news organizations needed it. Most recently, we turned to ICFJ after the horrible explosion in Beirut. Together, Facebook and ICFJ are bringing emergency support to media outlets covering yet another devastating crisis. For those reasons, the Facebook Journalism Project is proud to sponsor ICFJ's tribute to journalists, and I urge everyone to join us in this effort. And now, back to Alberto.
Thanks, Anne. This year, Knight Foundation and ICFJ are proud to present a new Trailblazer Award to a journalist whose work not only models the courageous search for the full, accurate, contextual search for truth we so admire, but is also intent on establishing an institution that will last and evolve to serve his changing community. I'm very happy to present this award to Roman Anin of Russia. I'm also very proud to present this award to Roman, since this will make the 3rd connection between our foundation and this remarkable man and journalist. He was a 2013 recipient of the ICFJ International Knight Award and a 2018 John S. Knight Fellow at Stanford University. As he tells this story, when he and his colleagues were studying the news deserts in the United States and the danger they represented to a decision-making citizenry, he noted the same needs and problems in his native Russia. After his immersion in Silicon Valley's entrepreneurial atmosphere, he decided to start Important Stories, or iStories for short. iStories is an investigative news operation. It uses new technology tools and data-driven techniques to investigate corruption and abuse of power in Russia, nationally, and at the local level. Anin will swim against the tide because he has courage and he is tenacious. As much of an individualist as he is, he's also a realist, and he sees things as they are. In light of the odds against independent media in his country, he is working to unite independent news organizations for group protection and self-preservation. We admire him and we respect his work. Let's watch this video about the Knight ICFJ trailblazer, Roman Anin.
My name is Roman Anin. I'm the founder of iStories, an investigative media in Russia. This year, we investigated the country's garbage reform program, which charges every citizen for garbage disposal.
Масштаб и степень запущенности мусорной проблемы в России действительно поражают.
We learned that associates of President Putin secured lucrative state contracts without any competition. Instead, their companies got the maximum amount allowed. And despite the high cost, the program has not been effective. We also worked with the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project to look into the effectiveness of rapid COVID-19 tests that were supposedly made in the Netherlands. But reporters of OCCRP found that these tests were really made in China and produced many false negatives and false positives. But despite our findings, Russia still continues to purchase these tests. I started out as a sports reporter, but after the death of my colleague, Anna Politkovskaya, I realized that there are much more important things to cover in my country than sports: corruption, organized crime, and I decided to become an investigative reporter myself. Being a journalist in Russia can be very dangerous, but I do it because I love my job. I love solving investigative puzzles. And I also think it's important to cover crimes committed by authorities, even if there is no any official reaction by the law enforcement, which is often the case in Russia. Times are changing, and you never know when your story can make an impact. I love to tackle complex financial investigations, and I was among the journalists who worked on the Panama Papers. My investigation showed that one of the closest friends of Vladimir Putin, the godfather of his daughter, was at the center of a network that hid about $2 billion from the Russian state banks in shell offshore companies. I won the ICFJ's Knight Award back in 2013, and that helped me to promote the stories that I investigated to a broader international audience. It helped me to get new media partners and to improve our collaborative approach to stories. I also believe that it helped me to get to Stanford, where I completed a fellowship last year. Through iStories, I want to showcase the real heroes, people who stand up corruption and repression in Russia.
Please welcome Roman Anin, speaking to us from Moscow.
I received my first ICFJ Knight Award back in 2013, 7 years ago. Sometimes, when I look back at these times, I have the feeling that it happened in a different century, on a different planet, and with a different person. So many things have changed. Who would believe that the whole world would be locked down and hundreds of thousands of people will be dying from a virus? Who would believe that the United States, which called itself the fortress of democracy, would vote for Trump? Who would believe that Russia, the country where I live, the country which I love, will start a war against its brotherhood country, Ukraine, the place where my family comes from, the country where I spent some of the best moments in my childhood. And thousands of people would die, and the whole villages where I used to go fishing would disappear under the missiles of the Russian rocket systems. And who would believe that the officers of the Russian military would be traveling all around the world with deadly warfare agents and poisoning those whom the Kremlin considers its enemies? If you work as an investigative reporter in Russia, you have to be skeptical and you have to be cynical in order to protect your own sanity. You have to believe that the worst is still ahead in order to delude yourself and make believe that the present is not that bad. But I can tell you, even Russian investigative reporters, with their cynicism, couldn't have believed 7 years ago that the world would go crazy by 2020. And in order to keep up with the planet, we, Russian investigative reporters, decided to go crazy as well. We decided to launch a media outlet in the middle of the pandemic in one of the most hostile countries for journalists in the world. Today, I'm receiving the ICFJ Knight Trailblazer Award not as a reporter, but as a founder of iStories, an independent investigative media platform. iStories stands for Important Stories. For us, important stories are those that matter to the people and those that we can prove. We launched only half a year ago, but I'm very proud of my amazing colleagues who are already getting the most prestigious journalism awards in Russia for their stories. I'm very proud that we promote the idea of collaborative journalism in Russia. And iStories have already published dozens of joint investigations with the regional and central media. I am very proud that iStories is becoming not only the platform where you can read stories, but it also shares tools, techniques, code, and everything we know that younger generations of reporters can use our knowledge to improve their own reporting. All of this wouldn't be possible without my crazy and brave colleagues who believed in this crazy idea from the very beginning. But not only them. iStories wouldn't be possible without the support from the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project and its crazy founders, Drew Sullivan and Paul Ratto. I am proud to be part of this amazing and probably the best media network of investigative journalism in the world. Drew and Paul taught me the ideas of collaborative journalism, the one that we at iStories try today to promote in Russia. iStories wouldn't be possible without the support of these crazy people from the ICFJ and the Knight Foundation. These people have dedicated their lives in trying to help the truth sellers working in the most dangerous places in the world. Their support doesn't let independent journalism die. And in general, I am really happy to be surrounded by so many crazy and brave people from different continents. Because I believe that when the world goes crazy, only such crazy people, those who believe in the power of the truth and in the right of people to know it, can save it from a complete collapse. Thank you for the recognition. It's a great honor.
Very, very nice. And congratulations to Roman and Lena. We are so very much inspired by your work in countries where audiences are so often starved for the hard-hitting, independent reporting and journalism that you provide. We thank you so much. If you are inspired, by the way, all the folks who are watching us now, I hope you will support ICFJ, which works so hard to get behind journalists like Lena, Roman, and all of those you saw in that video, that photo mosaic. Supporting ICFJ is so easy. You should have just received a text or email with a link to make your donation. Just click the link to pledge an amount. It's tax deductible here in the United States. And once you make a donation, your name will appear on our giving wall. You can also give anonymously if you want. If you don't receive a link, this is what you do. You text ICFJ to 76278. I'll repeat it, 76278. You'll be prompted to follow some very, very simple directions. And if you're having trouble at all, please call ICFJ at help@icfj.org. I'll repeat it, help@icfj.org, and a staffer will get back to you very soon. Your contribution certainly makes a huge, huge difference. All right, so can I get some generous supporters to kick this off right now? Take a look at this. We're up to $16,805. You see, Karen Sulzberger gave $1,000, Christine Summerson $100, Gretchen Whitney $100. So the money is coming in. We need your support. You can do it anonymously. You can post your name. Paul Cohn gave $150. Eric Kaufman gave $5. Any amount is really important. Rick Kirkland, $12,000. I want to thank Jim Hogue, and Kathy Lacey for their generous $5,000 donation. And thanks to Politico for their $2,500 contribution, and to the anonymous donor, by the way, who matched it. Thank you so much. ICFJ deeply appreciates the support, so let's keep it coming. Gretchen Whitney, you see another $100 right there. And if you're attending ICFJ's awards event for the first time, you can become a new ICFJ supporter. Any amount you can give will be a tremendous, tremendous help. So let's see the action. It's coming in, and you can see more donations coming in. Julia Malone, $250 right there. Carol Passmore, $500. Susan Press, $100. Jennifer Reeder, $50. Randall Rothenberg, $100. So the money is coming in, and it's really, really important. So I want to thank all those people who are making these contributions, but we need more. We're up to $17,305. We need a lot more. Thanks for keeping those donations coming in. So, so important. And please remember this, all donations count. You know that our work takes on a new urgency. When so many journalists around the world are under siege right now, your support is more needed than ever. All right, so let me see some more contributions that are coming in right now. You see more people being willing to put their names and give us a good contribution. You're doing great. Let's keep it up. You can also make a meaningful $500 donation. As the risks for reporters get higher and higher, it's time to join forces and back a free press, because nothing less than our democracies are at stake right now. ICFJ needs and appreciates your support. So on behalf of all the journalists we serve, thank you. Thank you so much for backing ICFJ. Now I have the true honor of introducing my friend and my colleague, my good friend Nima Al-Bagher, Senior International Correspondent for CNN. Nima deservedly won ICFJ's 2018 Excellence in Journalism in International Reporting Award for her work bringing to light stories from human slavery in Libya to peacemaking efforts in the Central African Republic. Nima's about to tell us about a former CNN colleague who right now, sadly, faces grave danger.
Hi there, I'm Nima Al-Bagher, a senior international correspondent with CNN, and it is my pleasure today to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about an extraordinary woman and an inspiring journalist, my former colleague at CNN, Maria Ressa. In addition to the incredible work Maria Ressa is doing, she and I also have a little bit in common. I have the privilege of sharing with her the distinction of receiving an award from the International Center for Journalists.
Maria Ressa, the founder and CEO of the digital news site Rappler, is fighting for her freedom, and ICFJ is standing with her. ICFJ is helping to lead the Hold the Line Coalition, a group of more than 80 international organizations which are supporting Ressa and independent journalism in the Philippines.
Where are the facts?
Rappler exposed the brutal policies of Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, including the killings of thousands of drug suspects.
Nakita ko po, nandun na ako nakabulagta na. Yung nakita anak ko, butas po yung mukha niya.
And the use of troll armies to spread disinformation on social media. Rappler's outstanding work has made Ressa a target. She is now battling 8 legal cases designed to silence her and her news organization. If she's convicted on all charges, she could face a lifetime in prison.
If we can't hold power to account, we can't do anything.
Human rights attorney Amal Clooney is working to secure Ressa's freedom.
She is holding up the ceiling for her reporters, for all journalists in the Philippines, and anyone else who dares to speak the truth.
Her fearless reporting has also sparked death threats and smear campaigns. ICFJ honored Ressa in 2018 for bravely shining a light on Duterte's human rights abuses, and ICFJ stands with her now as she fights to hold the line for independent journalism.
What are we going to do? We have to hold the line every step of the way.
I'm coming up on my 35th year of being a journalist, and I have never lived through such a time when it is so dangerous to be a journalist. Thank you so much to the Hold the Line Coalition for helping us hold the line, for helping us shine the light, and to ICFJ for all that you do, for everything you have done for us in Rappler. Thank you. The only defense of a journalist under attack is to keep doing what we do, telling stories. Thank you for all your help.
I'm Richard Gingras, Vice President of News at Google and a member of ICFJ's board. I've known Maria for many years and am truly in awe of Maria's courage and the work she and her colleagues at Rappler are doing in the Philippines. Maria is a U.S. citizen, and she could have returned to the United States to avoid legal peril. But that's not Maria. She stepped forward to defend press freedom while knowing full well that she would pay a huge price. Maria Ressa defines courage. I support ICFJ because it does everything it can to help journalists like Maria, Lena, and Roman to continue doing the brave and necessary work that exposes what the truly powerful would prefer to stay hidden. There are many ways that you too can support ICFJ, and I'm happy to tell you about one that I think you'll love. Throughout the event, you've seen drawings of our speakers by the incomparable New Yorker cartoonist Liza Donnelly. Liza and ICFJ are offering you a chance to get a hand-drawn cartoon of yourself or anyone you choose. Follow the instructions to make a bid, starting at $500. You should also get a text or an email inviting you to bid. The winner will get a drawing kind of like Liza's drawing of me. The beard, by the way, is optional, that you can see on your screen now. Think of your home office with Liza's cartoon of you hanging on the wall, or think of having Liza draw your spouse, your boss, your best friend. What a great gift. Please bid now for this unique opportunity, and thank you to Liza, and thank you to all of you for your support.
And thank you, Richard, for everything that you do. So important. And thanks to everyone who has donated tonight to ICFJ. By the way, we're now up to $31,995. $31,995. Can I see some more contributions coming in? Of course I can. And we will be getting more contributions because the work of ICFJ is so important. Journalists need your help. And by the way, no donation is too small. Again, please don't forget to post to our social wall. Are you inspired by Lena, Roman, and Maria? Please post your messages to them. I assure you, they will see them and they will feel the positive energy you are sending. Our next guest represents an organization that certainly has become synonymous with world-class photography. Please welcome Whitney Johnson, Vice President of Visuals and Immersive Experiences at National Geographic, to tell you how you can own a beautiful, truly historic photo from their unparalleled archive.
It's a pleasure to join this event honoring outstanding journalists like Lena, Roman, and Farid. Like them, photojournalists play a vital role in shaping how we perceive the world. At National Geographic, we believe that images have the power to do more than inspire and entertain us. They enable us to see the world more clearly and to understand it in ways that words alone cannot. In that spirit, National Geographic is proud to donate to this auction a collection of 20 photographs titled Visions and Visionaries, The World Through the Eyes of National Geographic Photographers. Many of the pictures come from two of our extraordinary books, Women, the National Geographic Collection, and America the Beautiful, a treasury featuring images of every U.S. state and territory, accompanied with words by the prominent citizens who called them home, including Barack Obama, James Earl Jones, and many more. These photographs are a welcome reminder of our world's beauty, creativity, and inspiration as we cope with the devastating pandemic. Samantha Appleton made this photo of First Lady Michelle Obama realizing a longtime dream of meeting anti-apartheid legend Nelson Mandela at his home in South Africa. And here's another legendary source of inspiration, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King holding his I Have a Dream speech at the Freedom March on Washington in 1963. Award-winning journalist James Blair, a staff photographer at National Geographic for over 30 years, made this picture. And this portrait of Iman Saleh, a journalism student at Wayne State University, shows how Muslims are part of the vibrant tapestry of American identity. Saleh's parents immigrated to the United States from Yemen. Wayne Lawrence, a St. Kitts-born photographer, made this image for a special 2018 issue on diversity in America. You can also own breathtaking photographs of natural wonders, from a winter landscape in Wyoming to a squadron of graceful eagle rays in the northern Mariana Islands, to 3 riders in the waning sun of the Montana mountains. Any one of these photos would be a stunning addition to your home office. You can see instructions on how to bid on the screen below. You should also receive a text or email right about now inviting you to put in the bid. Please do that. You will not only get to own an image from the National Geographic collection, but you will also support the work of ICFJ and its global network of journalists.
So nice indeed. Thank you very much, Whitney, for that. And thanks to National Geographic for donating these photos, photos that show so many truly historic moments. You can continue bidding, by the way, on these photos and on the Liza Donnelly cartoon until 10 p.m. Eastern today, 10 p.m. Eastern. And now we're ready to honor our final award winner. I'm pleased to introduce Almar Latour, Chief Executive Officer of Dow Jones & Company and publisher of the Wall Street Journal. Almar began his journalism career as a news assistant at the Journal's Washington, D.C. bureau. He worked across Europe, Asia, and the United States as a reporter and editor for the Journal before becoming executive editor of the Journal and Dow Jones. Before becoming CEO and publisher, he was publisher of Barron's Group and executive vice president of Dow Jones. Thank you very much for being with us, Almar.
Thank you. It's a great honor for me to be with you tonight. Dow Jones and News Corp are proud to support ICFJ in a series of initiatives, including its major effort this year, the Global Health Crisis Reporting Forum. At Dow Jones and News Corp, we are committed to bringing the information that matters most to the public when and where they need it every day. It's a personal honor for me to present the ICFJ Founders Award, given to a journalist with a long-time commitment to the highest standards of the profession. The ICFJ Founders Award is named in honor of the 3 visionary men who launched this organization back in 1984. Tom Winship, editor of the Boston Globe, Jim Ewing, publisher of the Keene Sentinel and New Hampshire, and George Krimsky, AP correspondent and editor for 16 years. They felt a strong need to support colleagues overseas, particularly in countries with little tradition of a free press. Out of their beliefs, ICFJ was born as an organization run by journalists for journalists. This year, I'm pleased to present the ICFJ Founders Award to Fareed Zakaria. In a normal year, we count on Fareed to help us make sense of the most important issues of the day. In a tumultuous year like this one, we rely on his penetrating interviews and insightful commentary more than ever. As a host of Fareed Zakaria GPS on CNN, and as a columnist in the Washington Post, Fareed gives us razor-sharp analysis of everything from a presidential election, unlike any we've ever seen, to the constantly changing state of U.S. relations with allies and adversaries alike. Please welcome again Anthony Mason of CBS This Morning to tell us more about a journalist who embodies the journalistic ideals of ICFJ's beloved founders.
ICFJ's Founders Award has gone to such media luminaries as Christiane Amanpour, Leslie Stahl, and Marty Baron. This year's winner fits perfectly in that elite company.
Fareed Zakaria has helped Americans make sense of complex global issues for nearly 3 decades with thoughtful insights and penetrating questions.
It doesn't seem that personal dynamics matter that much with Donald Trump.
I think it does matter. Your approval rating is now at 14%. Why not resign?
In recent news-paced years, he dissected the Brexit debate.
Britain, famous for its prudence, propriety, and punctuality, is suddenly looking like a banana republic.
And Russian election interference, for which he produced a CNN special examining Vladimir Putin's rise to power.
Vladimir Putin understands us very well. The question is, does Donald Trump really understand him.
Since the arrival of the coronavirus, Zakaria has turned his lens on mistakes and missteps in handling the pandemic.
You talk about testing, everybody talks about it, and it seems bizarre, just from the outside, that it would be so hard.
He has hosted CNN's Fareed Zakaria GPS for 12 years. He's a columnist for The Washington Post, a best-selling author, and a popular guest on the late-night circuit.
You have been on, including this, 20 times now?
20, the big 20. Yep,
20 times you have been on. Is that more times than I've been on the radio show?
Born in India, his mother was editor of the Sunday Times of India. His father, a politician and religious scholar. He graduated from Yale and went on to earn a PhD in political science at Harvard, before building a career that's included high-profile positions at Foreign Affairs, Newsweek International, Time Magazine, and ABC News.
The fewer allies you have, to put it very bluntly, the more Americans will get killed in this process.
As one of the country's most influential foreign policy experts, Zakaria's thoughtful analysis of global events carries clout. With his clear-eyed perspective on the world's thought leaders, Fareed Zakaria has become one himself.
I think a new litmus test should apply to all public policy. Does it bring us together, or does it pull us apart?
Please welcome Fareed Zakaria, who's joining us live.
Thank you so much. Gosh, this is a huge honor. I can't tell you how honored I am. It's been amazing to just watch this cavalcade of fascinating people, the photographs, the photojournalists, the incredibly brave people. I've been a fan of ICFJ's forever. Joyce Barnathan is a friend. I knew her when she was a great journalist. Before she took over ICFJ, she's married to one of my former colleagues from Newsweek. To have Wolf here emceeing the whole thing, I'm really I'm stunned and in awe. I have to confess, I'm mostly silenced almost by the other two nominees, and it raises a larger point. I've often thought that people like me, American, particularly television journalists, but established journalists, we have it easy. We get to take awards like these and bask in this kind of glory, but we don't really risk our lives the way that Roman and Alina, and so many others. There were the people all over the world, and I grew up in India seeing some of that, the risks people were taking. And I've often felt almost embarrassed to be a journalist in the United States and watch these people risk their lives for the same values we hold. W.H. Auden once said that when he would talk to scientists, he would feel like a shabby English cleric who had just entered a room full of earls and dukes. And that's a little bit the way I feel when I listen to the stories of these extraordinary investigative journalists who are risking their lives every day. I really do feel like I have it easy. But now, all of a sudden, I feel as though we are all in it together in a way that has been sad, dangerous, but incredibly important. In 1997, I wrote an essay in Foreign Affairs. It's called The Rise of Illiberal Democracy. And what I noticed was it seemed like democracy was winning everywhere. The Cold War was over. America was bestride the world like a colossus. And yet when I go to countries, when I was reporting on this extraordinary democratic wave, what I noticed was in a lot of these places, the people who were getting elected were fairly freely elected. They were popular, but then they would systematically undermine democracy. And one of the key tools they used was to undermine the freedom of press. They would muzzle it, they would intimidate it, they would jail journalists, they would defund them. And that process was at the heart, the kernel of why I wrote that essay, The Rise of Illiberal Democracy. The strange combination of democratically elected, often popular with some large segment of the population, authoritarians who then throttle democracy using the guise, using the rules, using the mechanisms of democracy itself. And I thought I was describing the Balkans, and I was describing Turkey, and I was describing India at times, and I was describing Pakistan. And what I have been stunned to watch over the last 20 years is the way in which that phenomenon has not only grown and settled down into a kind of comfortable mixture of populism and illiberalism and authoritarianism in many of those parts of the world, but it has also come back to the West. If you look at the rise of populism in the West, the most troubling feature of it has been the way in which often popular leaders then turn on the very liberal democracy that has nurtured them and nurtured these societies. Obviously, it is happening in the United States, where we have a president who routinely calls the free press the enemy of the people. But it is happening in country after country. And all of a sudden, I feel as though we have something to contribute. We have something to contribute to this struggle to make sure that we keep democracy alive, we keep the values that we all believe in alive. And all of a sudden, they seem imperiled everywhere. As I say, it's a dangerous time. It's not a cause for celebration of any kind, but it is incredibly urgent that we recognize that these values are under siege, that they are being threatened everywhere. And if they collapse, if we collapse in our efforts to defend them in the United States, in a country where journalism, journalists, and the press are constitutionally protected, it's the only industry that is protected in the American Constitution itself. If it starts to flail here, what will it look like everywhere else in the world? And what we have to ask ourselves is, how do we combat this new form of authoritarianism, which wraps itself in the guise of popularity and populism, wraps itself as the tribune of the people, and tries to set people against people by playing a kind of class warfare or a political warfare, all of which, however, has one effect, which is to diminish the quality of democracy, to diminish the role of the free press, and to strike at the heart of truth itself. So I feel as though we are now joined in this struggle. Again, it is the foreign journalists, the people who are out there in the Arab world and in Russia and in parts of South Asia who are struggling, who are risking their lives. We still have it easier, but we are at least joined in a common struggle. It is so important that you help with your donations, with whatever you can. It is so important that all of us keep the faith and keep talking about these issues and writing about them and voting about them, because ultimately that is the only defense we have. My greatest sadness in writing that essay 25 years ago was to realize that, I had imagined that liberal democracy was all about institutions. If you have good courts and a good constitution and a separation of powers, all that was going to protect the great liberal democracies of the world. All those things would build the new liberal democracies of the world. Well, it turns out at the end of the day, institutions are only as strong as the people in them. And more than anything else, you need people who are committed to democratic values like the freedom of the press. And if you don't have those people being eternally vigilant, you can have the fanciest buildings in the world and the nicest constitution on paper, and it doesn't seem to matter, because those institutions get eroded, those constitutions get corrupted, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a very scary and different world than you had imagined. So thank you to the ICFJ for giving me this award. But I hope that in giving me this award and giving the award to other people, the most important thing we are doing is highlighting the incredibly important work that it is doing, that journalists around the world are doing, and how important that struggle has become. It truly is a life and death struggle. And what is at stake is liberal democracy itself. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Fareed. Very, very well deserved. You really are an amazing journalist, and we're so proud that you're a member of our CNN family at the same time. Fareed and I are going to do some Q&A in just a minute or so. We've got some questions for Fareed. He's going to be joining me in what we tonight will call the Situation Zoom, and we'll have a good conversation. So stand by for that. I want to thank all of the folks who have donated to ICFJ tonight. And you can see, once again, some of the donations that have come in on your screen. It's not too late to give. Just follow the instructions on your screen. With journalism right now facing so many threats, your support helps ensure that people like all of those we've seen here tonight, all of those we are honoring here tonight, are able to keep doing their truly vital jobs. Finally, don't forget to keep sharing a view into your world by posting on our social wall. You can see some of the posts coming in right there. All right, so Fareed, you and I are going to do a little Q&A right now. It's been an incredible news year. Here are some questions for you. Let's go to the first question and give me your answer. How do you see the president's positive COVID-19 test affecting the upcoming U.S. presidential election, which is less than a month away?
Basically, it's bad for him. It's bad for him because it returns the subject, in my view, correctly, to COVID. Anything that brings us back to the pandemic is bad for Donald Trump because the American people have essentially made a decision that he has mishandled it. Frankly, rightly or wrongly, in my view, it's largely an accurate diagnosis. But if you look at the polls, that's pretty clear. And if you look at Trump's strategy, Donald Trump's election strategy has been to try to change the subject, to talk about Black Lives Matter, to talk about the dangers of violence in the suburbs, to talk about the law and order, by which he means law and disorder. And so all these are diversionary tactics. And by contracting COVID himself in what appears to be a somewhat irresponsible fashion at essentially a kind of super spreader event, it's difficult to change the subject as easily as he'd like to. So I think he was in any case not in great shape. I have always felt that Donald Trump was fundamentally quite unpopular. If you look at his disapproval rating, it's always been above 52%. And COVID reminds us of his greatest weakness, his handling of the pandemic.
What will happen, Fareed, if the election is November 3rd and we don't have the results? It's close, and we don't have the results November 3rd, November 4th, November 5th. What do you think is going to happen?
So I laid out in a couple of shows some scary scenarios because I am very worried about this, Wolf. Honestly, the American Constitution does not have the most perfect mechanism for handling all this. Part of it is, the elections were not always directly democratic. So the states have a lot of latitude in terms of choosing electors and things like that. But let me begin by saying, if the polls are right, and I know we all know the caveats, but one has to point out, the 2016 national poll was correct. It had Hillary leading by about 3.5 points. She won by about 3 points. Biden is up by 8 points. It is quite conceivable that this whole conversation will be moot because he will win big and early. But if he doesn't, and if the scenario you're describing unfolds, which is possible because Trump voters tend to vote in person and Biden voters seem to be voting mail-in. If that happens, again, the press has an important role. We have to educate the American public to understand it's not election day, it's election week. In point of fact, as you well know, Wolf, the states never certified the elections on election night. They did actually go through the counting, and there were sometimes recounts. It would often take a few days. Media organizations using statistical models call the election on election night. We just have to be very clear that that is not possible, that these states are too close to call. I think of you in some ways as the arbiter. You're going to be the guy who people will look to. And it's very important for us to maintain that accuracy. I think the system will hold. I think that Trump will try probably a lot of shenanigans. I think there will be lots of lawsuits. But at the end of the day, I do believe that we will be able to get a fairly clean outcome. If we don't, I believe it will go to the Supreme Court and it will get resolved. I'm an optimist. You can't be an immigrant without being an optimist. And so at the end of the day, while I worry a lot and I have a lot, and I've laid out these issues precisely to get people, vigilant, I think we'll get through it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm an optimist too. The good news, there's a lot of good news, but one really excellent piece of good news for you. You have a book coming out tomorrow entitled 10 Lessons for a Post-Pandemic World. So how are our lives? Give us a little preview of this book, because I hope it's going to be a major bestseller. Give us a little preview how our lives are going to be different in this post-pandemic world.
Well, if it becomes a bestseller, it all depends on whether I can get on the Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer.
Well, you're in the Situation Zoom now. If you work really hard and play by the rules, maybe one day you'll be in the Situation Room.
Look, the probably Lenin is supposed to once have said, I use this, but I have to confess, as a good journalist, I did try to check the quote. It's one of these quotes, it's too good to check. The way I put it in the book is, Lenin is supposed to have said that there are decades when nothing happens, and then there are weeks when decades happen. I think COVID-19 has been one of those weeks, metaphorically. Everything has accelerated. So much has happened. And the principal force has been acceleration. So think about digital life. We all knew we were moving in some way to some of these kinds of technologies. But we have now seen this massive acceleration. By the end of 2020, 1 billion people will have had visits with their doctor on Zoom or some such digital technology. This was something people thought would take 10 years to happen. Or if you look in geopolitics, we know that the United States and China have been drifting from a kind of collaborative relationship that they had, say, 20 years ago, to a more competitive, even antagonistic one. This has all gotten accelerated as a result of the pandemic. So if you're trying to understand the pandemic in very simple terms, it's the world has gone on fast forward right now.
A lot of the experts, the public health experts, don't believe this is going to be the last pandemic that we're going to have to go through. They think there are going to be more health pandemics down the road. Do you think we're going to do better handling the next one than we've done handling this one?
I actually think that you'd imagine that we've learned our lessons, but I'm not sure. I think that there are things about the American healthcare system that make it particularly bad at handling these kind of public health epidemics. We don't have universal care. So pockets of the population are left out from the start. Because of that lack of access, there are lots of people who worry about going into a hospital, going and getting tested, going and getting care because they worry that they can't afford it. All these kind of inequalities, which might have been okay, and I don't really think they were fine normally, but in a public health situation where no one is safe if everyone is not safe, it doesn't work at all. And there's a larger issue, Wolf, which is, you are right, we are going to see more of these. It is highly unlikely this is the last. And the reason is we are living a life in a very risky way that almost invites these it's almost a kind of nature's revenge. Think about the fires in California. Think about the hurricanes. Think about the droughts. And think about the pandemics. These are all happening because of a kind of careless, reckless way that we're living. I describe it in the book, and I talk about it as nature's revenge. We've got to start living more thoughtfully in a more sustainable way that allows human beings to flourish, but allows the planet to survive as well.
One final question before I let you go, Fareed, and we're not going to let you go, but one final question, at least in this segment right now. If Biden does win the election, becomes the next president of the United States, is inaugurated on January 20th, 2021, as far as foreign policy is concerned, where do you see the country moving in a different direction than what we've seen over the past 4 years during the Trump administration?
I think the single biggest shift will be to a re-embrace of America's allies. There's the strangest thing about Donald Trump is that he really doesn't like the world. He thinks that everyone's ripping the United States off. But he reserves his greatest hostility for America's historic allies, the countries that have fought in 70 years of American-led wars, whose soldiers have bled and died with Americans. It's the British, the French, the Germans. He has a fine relationship with Putin. He has a good relationship with Modi. He has a good relationship with Erdogan. He loves the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. But it's our allies that he has found most distasteful. So I think you're going to see a re-embrace of America's historical mission and of its historical allies.
Very important point indeed. Fareed, thank you very much. Truly valuable insight. Good luck with the new book. I'm predicting already a major bestseller. And certainly it's an honor to work with Fareed at CNN. We got a great team at CNN, and Fareed makes all of us so proud. I certainly look forward to his weekly commentaries in the Washington Post. I'm a regular viewer of his Sunday morning show, 10 a.m. Eastern, Fareed Zakaria GPS. If you don't watch it, you're missing a lot. You'll be a lot smarter after that hour than you were when you go into that hour. Now I want to get a quick word from Editor-in-Chief Emeritus of Bloomberg and Vice Chair of ICFJ's board, Matt Winkler. Matt?
Congratulations to you, Fareed, and to Lena and Roman. You renew our faith in the importance of quality journalism as so many struggled to survive during the COVID-19 pandemic, the global recession, resurgent repressive governments, and rampant social injustice. Sadly, Lena and Roman are not the only journalists working in countries increasingly threatening the public's right to access independently reported information. From Venezuela to Hungary, from Turkey to the Philippines, countries that once respected the role of journalists in a democracy are cracking down severely. While long-standing Western democracies are protected from the worst excesses of autocratic rule, they too are seeing tendencies toward elected officials seeking to sow distrust of independent journalists and to spread disinformation. It is vital that we resist these trends. If we don't protect the right of journalists to report freely, we will see our democracies fail. At Bloomberg, we are doing all that we can to keep journalism and our democracies healthy and strong. We are proud to back ICFJ in this effort, including our long-standing support of the Global Business Journalism Program in China that you heard about earlier. ICFJ needs your support too. You've seen so many examples during this tribute of how ICFJ and its global network of journalists are leading in the most important struggle of our time. Please make a donation now. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Really, really important. And I'm thrilled to tell all of you that the generosity of our first virtual audience has had real world results. We have just raised, and I'll give you the number, $877,614. You see the sponsors there, all the individuals, $877,614. That is really, really impressive. I want to thank all the sponsors, thank everyone who made a contribution. The support will allow ICFJ to not only keep doing its vital work, but also to expand its offerings just when the need is greatest. And remember, you can continue to donate. You can continue to bid on photos. Don't forget about the custom Liza Donnelly cartoon until 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight. You will be notified soon if you won. I want to thank everyone who made this event possible. There are far too many people to thank by name, so please stick around to watch the closing credits. We're going to see you back here on November 9th, 2021, in person, I hope. In person. A virtual thing is okay. In person is a lot better. In the meantime, goodbye and thanks once again.
I'm so pleased that in this virtual event, we can recognize the amazing staff and interns at ICFJ who do so much to make our work such a success. I am truly proud of all of them. Here they are.